In this video, we'll determine coterminal angles when the angles are given in both radian and degree measure. We'll take a look at the circle with degrees already written on there. We know that 0 degrees is the same thing as 360, so it turns out we could add 360 to any of these angles to find a coterminal angle. In other words, if you look at 30 degrees, 30 plus 360 equals 390. So an angle that is coterminal with 30 degrees would be 390. 45 degrees plus 360 is 405 degrees. We can also subtract 360 away from any of these angles to get a coterminal angle. So if we look at 90 and we subtract off 360, we get negative 270 degrees. And the 120 minus 360 equals negative 240 degrees. So that's a coterminal angle with the 120. Now let's look at coterminal angles using radian measures. Just like degrees, we could add 360 to anything. With radians, we're going to add 2 pi to any of these. But we'll consider the denominator when adding 2 pi. For example, pi over 6 plus 2 pi, when we get a common denominator of 6, a coterminal angle with pi over 6 will be 13 pi over 6. Now let's look at pi over 4. To add 2 pi to that, it'll be pi over 4 plus 8 pi over 4, which equals 9 pi over 4. We can also subtract 2 pi from any of these. So let's look at 7 pi over 4. Let's subtract off 8 pi over 4, and we find out that negative pi over 4 is coterminal with 7 pi over 4. So now an example. We want to determine 2 coterminal angles of 2 pi over 3 radians. So we have divided pi into 3 parts. So each of these is, we're going to iterate by pi over 3. So there's pi over 3, 2 pi over 3, there's pi, 4 pi over 3, and 5 pi over 3. We want to look at 2 pi over 3. We can add 2 pi to that, and we get 8 pi over 3. We could also subtract 2 pi, and we get negative 4 pi over 3. So we have found 2 coterminal angles of something that was in radians. Now let's do something similar but with degrees. First of all, 740 degrees, we could subtract 360 right off the bat, and we get 380 degrees. We could subtract another 360 and get 20 degrees. And 20 degrees is right about here. So we know that that's a coterminal angle with the 740 that was given. We could also take 20 and subtract off 360, giving us negative 340. So that would be our negative coterminal angle with 740 degrees.